Hello, this is Pam Lefferts from Ferncroft Wildlife Rescue in Woodstock, Connecticut. My husband Bill and I are retired teachers, and we focus on the rehab and rescue of opossums. We wanted to talk today, share with you some of our caging adventures. When we first started doing this, we had no idea how much it was going to cost or what we needed. We sort of just jumped in and thought, we can do this. I mean, we have a barn, we have a screened-in porch, we have a rabbit hutch. What more do we need? Little did we know. So today we're going to share with you the good, the bad, and the ugly, what worked for us and what doesn't. And even though our caging is set up for small mammals, there are a lot of basic principles that apply whether or not you're doing birds or reptiles or mammals. We'll take a look at both our outside pens and our inside caging. So come on in, let's take a look. Let's start at the beginning. So when we first began this adventure, we had to find a space for our caging that was away from domestic animals, where there was not going to be a lot of human activity. And so the screened-in porch, which was our breakfast porch, looked like the perfect place. So in comes that rabbit hutch, and of course a tote, so that we had caging, and we were ready for admissions. That was a very cold spring. We couldn't leave them out on the porch. The rain was coming in, the wind was coming in, and so our guest bathroom became the critical care unit for the babies that came in. We also admitted an adult injured opossum, and we had no place to put him, and so his cage went in the bathtub in the master bathroom. Well, obviously this wasn't going to work, and we knew we needed to make some revisions. Bill went on Craigslist and found some really good quality used windows, and we called in a construction crew, and they converted that screen porch into a very nice three-season room. Out went the screens, in came the windows, everything was secured, a new floor was put in, and now we really were ready with at least a space to begin our rehabbing. Cabinets and countertops, mostly free on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, a medicine cabinet, microwave, all of this stuff was either very cheap or free, but people getting rid of it. And there's the room, and there's the rabbit hutch. We looked at and tried lots of different caging. Some worked, some didn't. The rabbit hutch didn't. The soft-sided pen is nice to put them outside, but not to live in. We wasted money on cages that were absolutely no good for opossums. Good old rabbit hutch, that's good for everybody. Dog crates we found way too hard to get into and to clean. These soft-sided cages are fine for when they're tiny, but not as they get bigger. Again, the rabbit cage. This is my favorite. Very sturdy. It's from a veterinarian clinic that was going out of business, and we love it. But in the end, the cages that we use all the time are these Cricket Nations. They are so easy to clean. You can use the top and the bottom separately, or you can combine them. They have covers that you can put on them, so for like opossums who like to be in the dark. And this is sort of what the room looks like today. We run 6 cages in the critical care, and they're usually always full, and we have 2 incubators in there. But these cages work out beautiful. I can't give you a higher recommendation for a cage. We use that room in the winter to overwinter opossums that need to be. And we have a ramp on the cage so that they can come in and out as they please, and then they have full use of the room. So now it was time to build the outdoor pens, the pre-release pens, and this is really very important because it's the next step. Some of you may not have pre-release, but if you do, pre-release outdoor pens are not just about the animals. You can get, all the specifications that you need for the animals you're working with, but what it's really about is you. Because when you're talking about outside, you have to think ahead about weather issues, about does it get muddy, does it get icy, do you have access to water and electricity, and what about your neighbors? I know, people say, oh, my neighbors think it's great, but those neighbors might sell the house, and the next people that come in don't like wildlife. So you can't be right on the border or disturbing neighbors. What looks beautiful in the summer does not look so beautiful in the winter. Can you get down there? Lighting. Is there electricity so that you have light if you have to go down in the middle of the night? Mud. Does it get muddy? Here's a path that got muddy, and we handled that by having gravel brought in. But all of these things really make a difference regardless of what animal you're building the pens for. This is our neighbor's line, and he laid logs down because he didn't want us anywhere near his line. Every time it snows, Bill has to go out and make paths to the different pens. But we've changed that this year, and we've actually brought our overwinters up to the critical care because we don't want to walk down that path. It gets very, very slippery. Okay, let's go build some pre-release pens. Pre-release pens. I think all small animals need pre-release before they're released to the wild. I know opossums need 2 to 3 weeks with no human contact in order to wild up. So we looked for an appropriate spot down in the woods and found what appeared to be fairly level and we thought fairly dry. First thing we did is clear the area and make sure that we could fit the pens that we wanted down there. And then we decided to use a chain link kennel, 10 foot by 8 foot, plenty big enough, had a top, seemed like a perfect material to use for a pre-release pen. So we got it leveled, we put in a base, this is a mistake. We used chicken wire as a base. Chicken wire is not strong enough. Anything can eat through that. You really have to use hardware cloth. We learned that the hard way. Then we added some gravel on top of that, not very absorbent at all. And then on top of that, look, it's a mud pit. We put all this really soft, nice loam that just turned into a great big mud pit. Then the guys got going on putting the pen together, and that went fairly easily. There didn't seem to be much of a problem. It had a top, it had a door. We could easily walk in to clean it up. And so it seems as though we must be ready to go. They're putting the final touches on it. They've added, for some weather, a tarp that sort of covers the sides and the top so that it won't pour in there. Look at them. They're so proud of themselves. Well, they shouldn't have been, because the next morning when I went down, all my little possums had escaped. They made it through that chain link fence. So now our next thing was to attach chicken wire to the chain link fence. Another mistake. We took a long time taking all the panels down, getting chicken wire on, making sure that it was secure and that they couldn't get out through the doors, always looking for sharp edges to make sure nobody's going to get caught. Look, it looks beautiful. There is the pen all put back together with chicken wire and, of course, a new top for the roof. But as it turned out, a top is not a good roof. After the first rainstorm, it caved in. And so we did end up putting on a more secure roof. Well, I'm as happy as can be because I think this is it. Add a little bit of straw in there, and these guys are ready to go. So here we are, looking proud, and we shouldn't be. It turned out that the little arms were able to get through the chicken wire, through the chain link fence, and a couple of our little ones must have been grabbed by something else. Finally, we decided to do it right, and we made panels, hardware cloth panels, and attached them to the to the sides of the pen. This is probably the most secure pen ever built. It's got chain link, then it's got chicken wire, and then it's got hardware cloth. Nobody can get in and out, but it looked good. They replaced the tarp with a board on the back, and a roof was put on, and of course then we were able to do the inside. It turns out to be a wonderful, wonderful outdoor pen. It's very secure. It's weatherproof. We did have to replace the roof ones, but the possums love it. My point with this is we really were trying to save money in the beginning. But in the end, it cost us 3 times as much. We had to take that pen down and finally do it right. So if I were starting a pen now, I would level the ground. I would make sure I had good drainage. I would use hardware cloth for the bottom, and I would make hardware panels for the sides that are easily detached. When Bill and I decided that we wanted to keep non-releasables for educational purposes, in Connecticut you need to have a federal permit and you have to follow their guidelines for the pen. I figured this is easy. Look, we've got a chicken coop, it's got chain link fence all around it. I think we can just apply for our license and we're good to go. As with anything, we miscalculated. When the inspector came and looked, she said, no, no, you have to have drainage. You have to have a 3-foot walkway all around the inner pen. You have to have a double door system. And she had a whole list of things that we had to do in order to get our federal permit. It was far more expensive than we expected. Actually, it was 3 times more expensive. So the first thing we had to do is tear down everything we had, all the fencing. The land needed to be leveled, and we needed to add materials that would give us good drainage. So up came all the dirt, and we built a case around and filled it so that at least we were level. Then we had pea stone delivered for good drainage. That got spread out, and then we added hardware cloth as a base. And that's really an important step because that stops little animals from burrowing under and coming up like a weasel that might want to attack the animal that you're rehabbing. And then the building began. We learned a lot from those first few pens. And what we learned is to make these hardware panels that will, in the end, be removable. In our town, if something is removable, you don't have to pay taxes on it. So all of these panels would just unscrew and come back down. It took a long time, panel by panel, and we got there. And here it is, all leveled with the drainage. You can see how smooth it is and good drainage and all the way around the edges. We also have the pea stone. And then we put a top on it and had an escape door in the back so that if an animal got caught in there, they could get out. And this is the walkway. The walkway is very important. You have to have a 3-foot walkway all around your inner pen because remember, this is actually an exhibition pen for non-releasables that or for animals that you would like public to look at. Actually, it's one of the best pens we have. We use it for a variety of different things. And now we have a secure pen. We're doing some last minute adjusting. We put a roof up on it. All the doors can be locked. That small door is where we can put food and water. And this is kind of important. We remembered how muddy it gets down there. So we laid down these patio blocks, and that took care of the problem. Now we're ready to go inside. Inside, we already had chicken nesting boxes, which opossums absolutely love. We put a couple extras. That small door, it's got a ramp, and that's how they can go out to the outer pen. Of course, we have electricity. There's a fan that we use in the summer, and in the winter, if we need to, we have a small heater, a hammock. There's the heater. Things for them to do. Enrichment is very important. They love the exercise wheel. We put in ramps. We put in some shelves so they could climb. I haven't had an opossum yet who didn't use that wheel. There you can see how they can get out to the outer pen. And working out there was actually a lot of fun as we got it ready for them. It's done. We've got hollow logs. We've got things for them to climb on. And we change stuff out because it is important that they have some enrichment. In any case, this turned out to be a pen that we use for non-releasables. We use it for our ambassadors in the summer. We use it for mamas who come with babies. We have cameras so we can watch and see what's going on down there. This is a perfect pen for multi-use. And my suggestion to you is if you're about to build a new pen, watch this video again and think about doing one that will meet the specifications for your state or for USDA. Although it's very expensive initially, it will pay for itself because you can use it for many different animals and for many different reasons. The last of the cages of pens that we wanted to share with you are really indoor pens that could be used as pre-release or they could be used to overwinter. It was clear to us that our opossums were not wilding up enough in that critical care. There was just too much activity. And so we needed someplace in between, an adolescent clinic. We decided to renovate our barn, our mini barn, into rehab space. And once again, we called in the contractors who had wonderful ideas on how to make these pens that would be super safe, very easy to clean. We could walk in and out. And so we said yes. A lot of you have like sheds or whatever that you're not using. This is a perfect idea for them. They closed all the pens in with hardware cloth so that animals couldn't go from one pen to the other, and he put it so that I could easily get in and out. He was very careful to make sure there were no sharp edges, even the windows, everything got framed. And while we were at it, we made a decision to make an isolation room. The walls were made and the floor were made to be washable. It has its own work area and place for supplies, and it's actually triple doored, so it passes all of the specifications for a USDA pen. And we got some overhead storage out of it and special latches on the pen so I wouldn't lock myself in. We even added an observation window to the door, which once again then met USDA specifications. Donations. If you're converting a shed or a barn, if you just ask for cabinets and countertops, there are a lot of people redoing their kitchens and they're happy to get rid of them and they'll give them to you free. All of this stuff that we got was donated. Cameras were installed in all the pens so that we could observe how they were doing. Were they climbing? Were they able to run on the wheel? And then it was time for us to get the pens ready for some occupants. But I just wasn't sure how I would do that. These are very big pens. They're 8 by 10. And of course, I resorted back to my Critter Nation cages. They're my favorite. I can put 2 in each pen. There are 2 8 by 10 pens. But we chose to go with just one for now and put one group in there to see how it went. For enrichment, we added things like cat trees and the running wheel and hollow logs. And the cages are kept wide open. The doors are kept wide open. There's ramps so that the animals can go very well as they please in the 2 big pens. But in the isolation pen, there is no cage because the isolation pen is smaller. That one is only 4 by 8. And so there are logs to climb on in the wheel. And we do watch because we want to know. Usually if we have somebody in the observation pen, it's because they've been injured and we want to know if they're able to run and climb and are they really releasable. Some of you are just starting out and your biggest hurdle is to find a place that's dedicated just to your wildlife. And some of you will have pre-releases and some of you won't. And as far as the USDA pen goes, if you're going to do educational animals in the future and you're doing outside pens, think of following the federal regulations from the beginning. An area where you can put animals that shouldn't be around a lot of human activity but aren't ready for pre-release is always a good idea. So here we are, waiting for baby season to start. I hope that some of this was new information and that you got some new ideas for caging and pens. And we wish you all a wonderful and successful baby season. Thanks for listening. This is Pam Lefferts from Ferncroft Wildlife Rescue in Woodstock, Connecticut.